The World Economic Forum predicts tens of millions of job loss in the next few years due to AI technology development. And China criticized the U.S. for its legislations on inflation cap and chip protection in a WTO meeting in Geneva. From CGTN headquarters in Beijing, this is Global Business. I'm Zhu Jifeng in Beijing. And railway stations, highways, airports and docks across China are bracing for upsurge in passengers as travelers hit the road and return to work after the 5-day Labor Day holiday. The total passenger trips on Wednesday are expected to reach 57 million. Some 19 million passenger trips are said to be made via rail and air travel. Passengers are expected to hit 2 million. Both figures have surpassed the daily average of Labor Day holiday in 2019. The total passenger trips during the 5-day holiday is expected to hit a record 270 million, which is around 119% of the same period in 2019 level. Today's last day of China's Labor Day holiday. The 5-day vacation has seen millions of Chinese people hitting the road. Instead of famous tourist spots, many have opted for new ways to spend their holiday. Take a look.
China's Ministry of Culture and Tourism announced on Wednesday that a total of 274 million domestic trips have been made nationwide during the Labor Day holiday this year. That is a year-on-year increase of 70%. Besides visiting some classic scenic spots, exploring popular science spaces, trying out traditional clothing in Hanfu have become increasingly popular. China's Pingtan astronomy town in Guizhou province saw many astronomy enthusiasts during the holiday. The place have become an international astronomy tourism destination since the building of the FAST in 2016.
Previously, when I looked at the moon, it was just a bright sphere that felt very flat. But through an optical telescope, I could see some circular mountain ranges, much like those on Earth.
Official data show that more than 6,000 museums in China received over 50 million tourists during the holiday, reaching a historic high. If you're not a science fan, taking photos of Chinese traditional clothes in China's Asian city is another choice. Hanfu lovers from across the country have gathered in Luoyang, wearing Hanfu costumes in the styles of different Chinese dynasties.
We will reach full capacity when we depart at Beijing West train station. We also found that many passengers have already dressed up in Hanfu when boarding the train.
I ordered 2 sets of Hanfu online. I see a vacancy spot one afternoon, so we were thinking about trying it out.
Wearing Hanfu is also quite suitable for this city. I think it shows that we have cultural confidence.
In the meantime, lots of people have spent their holiday in the countryside to have a rural experience. Experts say that a rebound in tourism showed the strength of consumer spending and the economic recovery. Yu Bokun, CGTN.
Traveling abroad is always a popular choice for many Chinese people over the holidays, but that's especially the case for May Day this year, China's first major holiday since pandemic control restrictions were relaxed. With the cross-border passenger service at China-Laos Railway now available, many tourists have chosen to journey into the Southeast Asian country. Yao Jinghao reports.
I'm here at the Kunming South Railway Station, a terminal of the China-Laos Railway. Last month, the 1,000-plus kilometer railway launched its cross-border passenger service. And during this year's May Day holiday, taking the train to visit the neighboring country has been a popular choice for tourists. The Muhan Accident and Entry Frontier Inspection Station at the border says they handled more than 1,400 passenger trips over the first 3 days of the holiday, an obvious increase compared to Europe. The influx of visitors from China is expected to seriously hit up tourism sector in the Southeast Asian country. This is a train bound for Vientiane, capital of Laos. It will stop at 8 stations, including some popular tourist destinations such as Xishuangbanna in China and Luang Prabang in Laos. The whole journey will take about 10.5 hours.
It's my first time to take bullet trains to go abroad. I used to take planes. It's a fresh experience and I feel happy. I hope the railway can stretch to more countries in the future, such as Singapore.
The cross-border service has just been launched, and I can't wait to experience the landscape and culture of Laos by taking the train. It's my dream to travel around the world and shoot some vlogs.
The train is also boosting trade between China and Southeast Asia. There's now a special train transporting fruit from the region to China on a daily basis. Last year, more than 95% of durians produced in Thailand were exported to China. The amount is expected to hit a new record this year, all thanks to the railway. As leaders of both China and Laos agree to work closely to better operate the railway, experts say cross-border tourism, bilateral trade, and people-to-people exchanges can only prosper even further in future. Yang Junhao, CGTN, Kunming, Yunnan Province.
From 200 kilometers per hour to 350 kilometers per hour, China's high-speed rail is setting new standards in transportation technology. But that success has been largely due to the team of experts who constantly maintain and operate this groundbreaking network. During a late-night maintenance session in Guangzhou, our cameras capture the skilled work that goes into keeping the trains running safely and efficiently. Olivia He has more.
At 10 p.m., several high-speed trains are slowly driving into Guangzhou Maintenance Station, and there are a group of people who are getting ready to start their work once the trains are at the station.
I'm currently at the largest high-speed train maintenance station in South China. A series of high-speed trains come back here every day for inspection, testing, repair and maintenance.
Maintaining a high-speed rail network is a complex and extensive process that involves a wide range of departments, including electricity and power supply. With the trains running during the day, maintenance work can only be carried out during the late hours of the night and early morning. According to the employees here, work starts from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Each employee needs to look after 6 trains during their shift, and it takes around 2 hours to check each train.
The Fuxing train we are looking at here has 16 carriages. It's parked on a trench track about 2 meters deep, with maintenance personnel located on the front, both sides, roof, and under and inside the car. First, we cut off the electricity of a train and put the protection signal on, indicating the car is being inspected and repaired. We will check the appearance of the vehicle hood, the bogie, the equipment compartment under the car, the windshield of the vehicle end, and the roof of the high-voltage power supply components.
The equipment compartment under the track and bogies are also subjected to thorough inspection. The flashlight is not only for lighting purposes, but also functions as a camera, so that each and every problem checked is recorded. If you look closely, you'll see that employees are also conducting thorough inspections of the seats, air conditioning and floor seats to ensure passengers' safety and comfort.
Due to the huge travel demand during the Labor Day holiday, our employees are working extra hours and paying more attention to the maintenance work to ensure the safety of our high-speed trains.
After a decade of development, China's high-speed rail system continues to push the boundary of transportation technology, with trains traveling at ever faster speeds, thanks to the tireless efforts of dedicated maintenance teams. These skilled workers are the backbone of the high-speed rail network, ensuring that passengers can enjoy a safe, fast, and comfortable travel experience. Olivia He, CGTN, Guangzhou City in Guangdong Province.
You're watching Global Business. Still to come on the program. The World Economic Forum predicts tens of millions of job loss in the next few years due to AI technology development.
.360-degree profiles of industry movers and shakers, tech mavericks, and policymakers. We drill down on their success. We ask how they set strategy and how they navigate in an increasingly competitive market. Real talk, real business. Join the conversation. Biz Talk, only on CGTN.
Welcome back. The World Economic Forum, or WEF, predicts that the global labor market is set to go through major changes in the coming years. According to a report released by the WEF, nearly a quarter of jobs will be disrupted, with some eliminated and others created. The report predicts that between 2023 and 2027, there will be a net loss of 14 million jobs, representing 2% of the current employment. Among a range of factors, WEF attributed the most to technological advancement. Based on a survey of over 800 companies in 45 countries around the world, the report shows that 75% of the surveyed companies expect to adopt artificial intelligence within 5 years, while over half of them say AI may create new job opportunities in the future. It seems the big tech companies that develop the current artificial intelligence platforms could be the first employers to replace human workers with AI. US tech giant IBM has said it would postpone or stop hiring people for jobs that could be done by AI. According to CEO Arvind Krishna, the move could lead to job cuts of 30% of positions that do not involve interacting with customers, which would be 7,800 jobs based on current data. Other tech giants also promised shareholders in their Q1 reports to cut costs and improve profitability by investing in AI. Microsoft has started adding GPT functions in its search engine Bing and the Office software. Google launched its chatbot Bard and opened it to American and British users in March. Amazon is focusing on developing its own machine learning chip. Meanwhile, Meta is working on AI image generator that could be applied on Facebook and Instagram. Singapore has felt the impact of the recent spate of layoffs in the tech sector. Employees have been hit on two fronts: refreshments from global giants like Google and from regional heavyweights like Shopee. But despite the cutbacks, niche skills in areas such as AI and cyber security remain in high demand within the tech industry. Mir Lu reports.
Singapore authorities say that tech companies slashed 1,270 jobs between July and November last year. Recruiters estimate that another 1,000 job cuts took place in the first quarter this year.
One of the biggest factors is that there's an unprecedented boom during the COVID years. In that sense that there was a zero interest rate environment, there was a lot of venture money floating around, the pandemic ended, so whatever perceived demands for certain services like e-commerce, logistics, etc., the demand dropped. And when the demand drops, when interest rates go up, the venture money dries up, the layoffs happen.
Instead of hiring contract workers for greater flexibility, companies overcommitted by hiring full-timers with exorbitant salaries, often to stop them from joining competitors.
Firms basically overhired, invested in a lot of projects. So what we are seeing right now is not necessarily downsizing, but right-sizing.
Beyond layoffs, recruiters say companies could look at remote hiring as a cost-cutting strategy.
In the past, it's all about assembling at one location. But right now, if you start to think, and COVID has really accelerated that thinking, is that talents are everywhere in the world. You don't have to just compete for talent here in Singapore. Companies can basically tap into the global talent pool at a much lower cost and still achieve their kind of product dream.
Despite the cutbacks, observers are confident that Singapore will remain a tech talent hub in the long term.
The government actually here is investing a lot in tech, so the examples are the tech district coming up in Punggol in the east, which is going to give rise to like 28,000 jobs over the next 5 years.
In fact, even in the short term, companies are investing heavily in niche skills such as AI, data science, data analytics, and cybersecurity.
It's unclear whether the layoffs will continue in this part of the world, but the digital economy in Southeast Asia is expected to surpass $300 billion in the next 2 years. So the demand for tech talent will remain relatively high in Singapore and beyond, not only from tech companies, but also from other sectors that are in the midst of their digital transformation. Mir Lu, CGTN, Singapore.
To understand more about the tricky AI to human relations, let's bring in Andy Mok, Senior Research Fellow at Center for China and Globalization. Thanks for joining us, Andy. Can ChatGPT really take jobs away from people? Have the job cuts in tech sectors in the world, especially in the US, had anything to do with the development of AI?
Well, thanks for having me on, Junfeng. The short answer, I think, unfortunately, is absolutely. Absolutely that these advances in AI, in particular generative AI apps like ChatGPT, will be profoundly disruptive to the global workforce. So that's on the negative side. And as we heard earlier, there also will be new jobs created as well. And this may shift society in a way that sounds utopian, but some people talk about a post-scarcity world where there will have to be some major political changes to address the employment disruptions, but it could be a much better world. There are risks as well, which I'm sure we'll touch on, but it absolutely will be very disruptive to employment all around the world.
So AI can diminish jobs, but also create jobs. But these tech tycoons like Elon Musk talking about how scary AI can be, such as threatening the safety of human society, shaking the foundation of organic organization, like those sci-fi movies tell us. Don't you think it's a bit too soon to make those predictions?
Well, again, this is the great unknown, I think, that we're facing. And for some of these tech tycoons, as you're saying, Junfeng, maybe their position is better safe than sorry, in that some have compared AI to nuclear energy or nuclear power, in that it has the potential to transform the world by providing low-cost energy, abundant low-cost energy, but it can also destroy our physical world. And some see AI as having the potential to destroy our social world. Because one thing that AI does, especially these large language models, is that it really has mastered human language, which is the vessel through which politics, religion, many other very key features of social life are conducted. So it's an exciting time, but I think it's also a scary time, which is why there's so much attention being paid to this.
So better be safe than sorry. But at the same time, and the tech companies are also developing metaverse. Look at Facebook, it's called Meta. So they're building digital environment. They're building avatars using artificial intelligence, exactly. Do you believe in a future when people spend more time or all of their time in a virtual world? How do you think of this dilemma that people want to use AI but at the same time afraid of it?
Well, this is a great question. And, so the metaverse, I think, is one thing. So this is a virtual world that's in the digital space. Some are concerned, too, that we already live in a world of illusions. Every humanity lives in a world of stories.
Yeah.
So money is a story, religion is a story. And what we may be seeing, where I think some of the concern, but perhaps some of the hope as well, is that just as AI can play chess and Go far better than humans, they may be able to create culture far better than humans, and that could be very positive. There's also some dangers too. So again, most of the experts that are following this believe we're at a very, very important and pivotal time in human history, and we have to see what happens. But certainly exciting, and I think, to some people, very scary as well.
So when a new thing emerges, people want to use it, but also scared of it. Legislation could come in a very timely manner. Do you think a global legislation, because internet is global, so do you think global legislation on AI is necessary, such as information clearance, such as a level of how smart it can get?
Well, I think, because so much is unknown about this kind of AI, it has what are called emergent capabilities, meaning that abilities that people don't expect them to have. So some sort of coordinated global regulation certainly sounds like a reasonable thing to do, and probably something that would be a good thing. Just like we've seen a global regime for managing nuclear weapons as well.
Thank you. Very interesting topic. We should talk more about this later on in the program. Thank you so much, Andy Mok. Always a pleasure talking to you. That's Andy for us from the Center for China and Globalization. Let's talk more about AI. Artificial intelligence is rapidly changing the landscape of humanities and social sciences industries. Chen Qiufan, a famous Chinese science fiction writer, shows how he incorporated AI tools into his creations. Take a look.
Mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes.
Hi, I'm Chen Qiufan. I'm a science fiction writer and also an AI collaborator. Right now, like Midjourney, ChatGPT, Sudowrite, Quillbot, they all become part of my writing process. It makes me more creative and productive for sure. Now let me show you how I use AI to create a story about fighting against climate change in the future Beijing. Step 1, brainstorming. Step 2, description. Step 3, extensions. Step 4, adjusting the tones and styles. Step 5, revisions. So the problem of what ChatGPT had written, it seems to me, is too cold, too objective, too technological. So I changed a little bit to giving the nanobots more agency. For example, like using the activated the sensitive audio rather than equipped with sensitive audio receptors, and also to give it more emotional touch. In my recent book, AI 2041, Can Visions for Our Future, co-authored with Dr. Kai-Fu Lee, we imagine the future of job can be divided into 4 quadrants. So I think human, basically we need to find our competence, and we have to develop our sense of aesthetic, compassion, empathy, and also the skill of communication and leadership. Just like Amara's law put it, we tend to overestimate the effect of a technology in short run, but underestimate the effect in the long run.
China on Tuesday called upon the World Trade Organization to strengthen oversight of violations from the United States. During a regular meeting of WTO's Committee on Subsidies and Countervailing Measures held in Geneva, Chinese delegates criticized the U.S. government's discriminatory subsidy policies, saying that the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act with the protectionist measure in disguise of grain development, while the CHIPS and Science Act and the chip export curbs have disrupted the global semiconductor supply chain. Earlier, the China General Chamber of Commerce published this year's business survey. It shows that Chinese and U.S. businesses' ties frayed due to tense relations. Chinese companies' investment in the U.S. dipped by more than 7% last year. Sean Kellips had the details.
As we meet, the world economy faces multiple challenges, from high inflation and weak demand to geopolitical conflicts and financial turbulences. Global recovery is fragile.
The closely watched annual business survey by the China General Chamber of Commerce detailed a host of problems, none a huge surprise. The chargé d'affaires at the Chinese embassy, Xu Xuan, says despite the many obstacles, Chinese companies are in the United States for the long haul.
More and more Chinese enterprises in the U.S. are developing business with long-term commitment. They are creating more jobs, taking more social responsibilities, and integrated into the local communities.
That's the good news. But as businesses, manufacturing industries, the financial sector, and real estate companies keep producing, The CGCC survey of more than 100 Chinese businesses shows reason for deep concern. Chinese investment in the U.S. dipped by more than 7% last year. And a staggering 83% of those questioned say the sour relationship between the U.S. and China is having a negative impact, with few seeing any change in the near future. Chinese companies in the United States do see light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to inflation, but it is a long tunnel.
The overall consensus predicts that the inflation will slow down in somewhere between the next 6 months to 2 years, that period of time.
There is no question it's becoming harder for Chinese companies to set up shop in the United States. Still, leaders in the U.S. and China say there is no thought of decoupling or breaking off ties between the two largest economies.
It would have a dramatic effect in communities all throughout the United States and communities all throughout the world.
Michael Marquardt is working with Chinese companies coming to the United States. It's estimated a decoupling would drag the global economy down 2%. And Marquardt says the poorest nations would be hurt the most.
There are a lot of bystanders in Africa, in Latin America, in Central America, in other Southeastern Asian nations that would sort of be left in the dust if the United States and China were to decouple.
The CGCC sees itself as a bridge between the two economic giants. However, even the most optimistic expect the road to that bridge to be filled with bumps as China and the U.S. cope with an array of issues. Sean Caleb, CGTN in Washington.
Now some corporate news making headlines around the world. Apple will likely report a more than 4% drop in revenue, its second straight quarterly decline, weighed down by consumers shunning non-essential purchases such as iPhones and Mac computers and slowing growth at its services businesses. Shares of mid-sized U.S. lenders dropped in pre-market trading on Wednesday as a failure of a third major regional lender in 2 months continued to haunt the sector. Ford has posted robust first quarter revenue and profit thanks to strong demand for trucks and SUVs, but issued a measured 4-year outlook tempered by continued losses in its electric vehicle unit. Before we go, let's check out the busy scenes at airports, train stations and highways around the country as people head back home on the last day of the Labor Day holiday. Thanks for being with us for this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Zheng Junfeng. Stay tuned for CGTN's more news and views.
This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Early in April, I visited Shanxi province in northwest China to attend a national worship ceremony to honor Huang Di.